be a player evaluator, right? A talent evaluator, a fantasy evaluator. He is all about, being, the Joker in the Dark Knight, right? He's an agent of chaos, at least this early in the season. And he created a lot of chaos in that draft last night. And they're, say what you will about it, but he defended why he did what he did. I don't necessarily know if it's going to work out for him, but I understand where he's coming from. And this is the second thing I want to bring up. And by the way, Todd Hunter is the fantasy fool in the chat room tonight, who has drafted against Jeff several times. And this draft that we discussed with Jeff Zedlar tonight, this is not a traditional Jeff Zedlar draft. This is a very unique draft, not only for everyone else, but for Jeff too. Like this is a unicorn type draft for him. And so I don't want to make it seem like, I was
hoping this was
the listeners. No. This is not something that he normally exhibits in Football Guys drafts. Farrell, the last question I have for you tonight about this, and we'll chew on this till next Friday. He said that he's probably going to cut double-digit players off this team, throughout the season, and I get that because so this is interesting because it's in early May. And I understand how player values can change with injuries and what have you. But when you're drafting a team in early to mid-May as opposed to late August, early September, do you envision yourself cutting a significant more amount of players in these May drafts than these late season drafts?
Absolutely not, because I like the players, and I'm going to be a little bit more conservative early. And then, Bucky, I got to be honest. Until we had the slow draft concepts, I never drafted early. I never got to draft this early before. So, as far as the time element of when we're drafting, this is all very, very new to me. But in the players that I put together on my team, injuries notwithstanding, situations, I got a couple old guys here that, might be forced out or might be forced to retire, but I like the team I put together, so no. And I've got a couple rookies that may not work out 16 rounds plus, but no, I don't think I'm going to be trying to upgrade this roster. But goes back to that James Robinson example. He was a free agent in a couple of leagues last year, and I didn't bite on it because in those leagues I had gone early running back, so I liked my running back, so I was happy. Big mistake. So, who knows?
I think about, just going back to last year, and I know I had a few teams like this. Think about the teams that went with Alvin Kamara in the early part of the first round, and then also got James Robinson in the mid-rounds or late rounds or picked him up off the waiver wire. I mean, you are set at that point. You are loaded for bear with those two players, and it could happen again this year. Who are those players this year? Well, keep listening to the show. We'll try to tell you who they're going to be so you can try to win $500,000 in the FFPC or the Football Guys Players Championship this year. Farrell, can't thank you enough for hopping aboard on a Thursday night, dude. We will be back on Friday with another guest, and we'll talk to you then, and maybe we'll have another Zedlar-type draft to talk about. You never know.
It would be fun. Might be a Zedlar copycat in myself.
Be good, dude. Have a great weekend.
See ya.
That was Farrell Elliott, ladies and gentlemen, the co-host of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour and the commissioner of the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. Remember to sign up for the main event there, going on both in Cincinnati, Louisville, and online at kffsc.com. You can't wait for that long? That's no problem. The Checkered Flag Championship is open there. $200 entry fee. You can win a $5,000 grand prize competing against fewer than 100 other players, including myself, who I just happen to be the defending champion of that competition. Hashtag real life humble brag. All right, that is going to do it for our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to Jeff Zedlar. Thanks to Farrell Elliott, the FFPC, Rob Bryce, and, of course, each and every one of you. My apologies. We did not get to emails tonight. I promise you we will get to them next Friday when we return at 10/9 Central. Last thing I will say, 11 days left to save $100 on the FFPC main event. So if you plan on joining, if you join in the next 11 days, not only are we going to take $100 off your entry fee, but you'll also be entered into the Pros versus Joes drawing, where you can compete with 41 other Joes and 42 other industry pros for 7 separate 2022 FFPC main event entries. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll broadcast those right on this show as well. So if you want to get on that, myffpc.com/main event. Don't forget about the Dynasty Startups and the 2021 Football Guys Players Championship Early Bird. You can compete against guys like Jeff Zedlar and get a $35 FFPC team credit to do it as well. We'll do that up to 3 times for every FPC league you join by June 30th and draft by July 15th. The inaugural FFPC Best Ball Tournament is also underway. $125 entry. You can win a $100,000 grand prize, and it's a $550,000 prize pool. Make sure you are signing up for that. A lot of great stuff going on. And by the way, it's not all just high stakes with the FFPC and KFFSC. If you want to get on the FFPC, you've never played in the league before, you listen to the podcast, you want to compete against these guys, remember, the leagues start off at $5. So you can get into the Cinco de Best Ball, check it out, and then work your way up. Maybe you'll be a $500,000 winner before you know it. Thanks so much for tuning in on a Thursday night for everyone listening and streaming later. Your official early start to the weekend starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, presented by MyFFPC.com. It was broadcast live and heard around the world. Balky and Farrell will be back next week with more analysis, interviews, and advice from guests much smarter than they are. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again next week.
Hey, one other thing I wanted to bring up tonight, and I know it was a jam-packed show. Jeff was great. Farrell was great, obviously. So the reason we're doing the show tonight is because tomorrow I have my annual poker tournament with a lot of my high school friends that we have been doing not since high school ended, but pretty close. The iteration tomorrow will be the 20th year we've done this poker tournament, and we've gotten anywhere from 10 guys up to 30 guys. Obviously, people move all over the country, all over the world. They have wives, they have families. Stuff happens. They can't always get back. But by and large, a lot of these guys get back at some point. And the fact that we've been doing it for 20 years is pretty awesome to me. Now, here's how I'm going to tie it into fantasy football. Jules McLean, who's obviously a FFPC player, and I believe with fantasy points now, if I remember correctly, used to host a podcast called Fantasy Freakin' Football. It was the podcast for her website, Fantasy Freakin' Football. And she did this. Her co-host was Garrett Matheny, who another guy, a noted high-stakes player. Garrett Matheny brought this up on the podcast, on the Fantasy Freakin' Football podcast, and I totally am a subscriber to this. He has a similar thing to this. They call it the Sausage Party, where it's a bunch of him and his friends from high school, and they each bring a bottle of scotch, and they have like a beach house somewhere in California that the one of their friends owns, and they go there, they have everything catered in, and everybody brings a bottle of scotch, whatever, and they stay overnight, and it's a sausage party where they get to see these guys that they haven't had, since high school. It was the last time they've seen them, except for this one event. And he said this, and this is how I'm going to tie it in. I know this is a long walk for a short drink of water. If you have any of these things in your lives where you get to see all these people once a year, every year, don't ever skip it. Don't ever stop it. Don't ever take a break from it. Because the one time you do, that's when it's so difficult to sell it to the wives, to sell it to the girlfriends, the significant others or whatever, because they'll say, well, you missed it last year. You don't have to do it anymore. Keep doing it every year. Keep it up. Time is a finite thing here on Earth, and enjoy it while you can. You don't want to miss it any year. That's my advice for you tonight. I'm excited for the tournament tomorrow, and we'll talk to you again next Friday. Thank you for indulging me, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great weekend.